What you have just witnessed is a compilation of what are commonly known as anime openings. A short length of animation, music, and artistic framing designed to not only be used to start an episode, but to also introduce one to the series as a whole. Kind of like this. How's it going, everyone? My name is Keimon, and welcome back to The Art of Anime, a series where I try to explain things that were never complicated to begin with. In this episode, we are going over two topics. Both are integral parts to the anime watching experience and are often one's first experience into whole new mediums and genres. Today we are going over anime openings and endings. But before we do that, if you're enjoying my content and would like to see more, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We are incredibly close to the 2K goal and the surprise that I have in store for my subscribers. If you don't want to miss the surprise or any of my future uploads, make sure to follow me on Twitter as well, where I post additional updates regarding my content. Without further delay, let's get right back into the video. Just like every anime, a YouTube video needs a beginning, and we will begin by talking about openings. When you think of anime openings, many things probably come to mind. It could be the opening to your favorite series, a song or artist you found through watching a series, or even all the potential memes associated with them. No matter which opening you think of, they all have very specific purposes, both in context of the episode and in value to different anime communities. Openings are often used as a point of reference for many fans of many different series. You can gather a lot of detail about an anime purely from the opening itself, which helps many others share their favorite shows and introduce newcomers to a series in an easy-to-digest fashion. An easy example to consider is how well known many openings are and how they are easily recognizable based on only a few seconds from the song or actual animation. Openings like Silhouette, Sorairo Days, Tank, Gurenge, and are recognizable both inside and out of their communities. When it comes to those communities though, there are often discrepancies between fans of certain openings. When I first started watching Code Geass, I quickly learned that opening 1 is preferred to opening 2. A similar phenomenon can be seen in the JoJo community, since it has multiple openings all with separate versions and remixes. Differences among fans don't just stop at liking one opening over another, but can often come from whether or not the opening is a good fit for the series as a whole. But in order to get into this, I think it's time to dive into the deeper details of anime openings. Anime openings have a very specific job when it comes to the anime industry. Dealing with anime made from manga, the creator of the manga is often as hands-on as possible with the overall creation of the anime. Now when I say as possible, this can vary from series to series and studio to studio. Some creators completely hand over their series and don't provide much input, or in some cases they are working alongside the studio in the production process. As this relates to anime openings, these are often done solely by the studio. Since the opening is not part of the original manga, it is the studio's job to convey the overall vibe of the series while also showcasing small bits of the story, characters, and potential plot points all within a roughly 1 minute and 40-second time frame. One neat little detail that I noticed that is purely speculation on my part is that I'm fairly certain openings are also used as animation tests that allow the artists and animators to sort of practice different techniques that might be used throughout the series. Speaking of techniques, this is a good time to analyze the framework of anime openings a little bit deeper. Are you still here? Good, because we're just getting started. So just as a quick refresher, anime openings have two major importances. The first is to the community of the series, using it as a point of interest and discussion. The second is to the studio as a whole. where the artist can accurately gauge the different aspects of the series and opening, while also practicing different techniques to showcase in the episodes going forth. But how do the artists and studio determine what these different aspects are? In my various studies of anime openings, I have found 3 very obvious factors that can be used to determine these aspects. These are animation, music, and art style. Just as a quick aside, art style and animation are largely separate things, but are often determined by each other. For example, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Opening 11 Stone Ocean's animation style is mainly CGI, while its art style is largely based on the manga, David Productions' own in-house style for Part 6 as a whole, and adding in comic pop art to tie it all together. Put it all in a 1 minute and 30-second box with an original J-Rock song, and you have the opening for Stone Ocean. Now to break down those aspects individually. Starting with music, I created a poll on Twitter asking what the most important aspect of an anime opening was, and the responses show that most fans believe that the music was most important. There are many different genres, artists, and styles to choose from when creating an opening song. The most common method is to have an artist create a new, original song based around the show. Series like Kaguya-sama Love is War have an already well-established singer, Masayuki Suzuki, and composer, Yoshiki Mizuno, teaming up to make the opening Love dramatic. One of my favorite artists also created the opening for Goblin Slayer. If you aren't familiar with the work of Mili, I highly recommend you check out her other work. I'll link my favorite song, World.Execute Me, in the comments. Many anime openings are well known for using various forms of J-rock and J-pop songs that are specifically made with the intent of being in an anime in mind. Many outliers exist, however, where studios will add more of their own personal touch and do a different genre altogether. Shows like Cowboy Bebop, Beastars, and JoJo Part 2 employ more jazz elements into their openings, while Naruto Shippuden Opening 1, Samurai Champloo, and Air Gear use many elements of rap and hip-hop. Because the openings are often handcrafted for the series they debut in, and have the job of setting the tone, it is not uncommon for many hidden details to reside within the actual song. In one of my previous videos, I detail how the opening Smile Bomb hides many details about the main character Yusuke during the course of Yu Yu Hakusho's story. Moving on to the animation side of things, this is where things get a little bit more technical. Now, most people don't necessarily consider the overall animation when figuring out what they enjoy about an anime opening, often citing the music or art style as part of what they like. Animation is often the invisible middle child that tends to go unnoticed, but the people who do notice it can't seem to shut up about it. I'm one of those people. To clarify what I mean by animation in relation to anime openings, I'm mostly talking about the specific visual medium of the animation, such as CGI or 2D animation, and how that information is presented to the viewer with things like camera work and how the visuals are staged, and what exactly gets presented to the viewer and in what ways. These can all be things like cutting to or around specific information, blocking out or adding characters in view to signify potential additions to the cast, and different details regarding the story being presented. Many openings will outright feature all the characters to appear in the series as Easter eggs, or choose to omit some altogether, leaving the viewer to notice a significant hole in the placement and wondering if something is missing until they appear in the story. I'll use the second opening of Komi-san Can't Communicate as an example of this framing. It uses 2D animation alongside various camera angles and movements. The opening is framed as if it were done from a screen or camera lens, but also is shot from the perspective of Komi herself, before shifting over to the other characters that are involved in the story. Keen viewers of Komi-san will notice a cool detail that takes place in the first 50 seconds or so of the opening. The cast can be seen setting up and recording takes for the bonus scene that is shown at the end of Season 1. Now, an opening's animation and setup are never required to be over the top or super detailed, and can be something as simple as having the relevant characters dancing. This style is used in both older and newer anime, with my favorite examples being Lucky Star and Eizouken. The simple visuals and recognizability led to their popularity, with the Lucky Star dance being the more famous of the two. One last detail before we move into art style is the unique case of Mushoku Tensei, which did not have an opening sequence, but instead opted for showing additional episode-related content without dialogue and with the song present in the background. This detail is a unique edge case that I didn't know how to fit into the script properly, so I thought I would just mention it here. Shifting over to art style, this is the most forward of the three aspects, where the choice and creativity matters the most. Having a memorable art style is just as important as music choice, and its cooperation with animation style lead to creating amazing visual sequences. Going back to my earlier example of Beastars, the opening Wild Side uses stop-motion animation, which is both an animation medium and an art style choice. The reason why art style differs from animation specifically is a case of what's being presented versus how it is being presented. Many opening art styles will opt to have its style match the same art as the actual show, having the characters be on model, and then being presented in different fashions, scenarios, and situations to craft a narrative or feeling for the opening sequence. However, there are many that choose to do a completely different art and animation style to what is used for the actual runtime of the episode. One of my favorite recent examples of this is in Carol and Tuesday. The actual show uses more standard animation, but the opening of Kiss Me and Polygyne have a more painted feeling to it. The backgrounds have clear and defined brushstrokes that give detail to the scenery, while the moving characters use more light and faded colors. This gives the opening a feeling of warmth to it that stays quite unique to Carol and Tuesday. Another example is Spy Family's opening Mixed Nuts and its use of constantly changing art styles, starting off with the use of monotone colors and heavy black shadows, and switching to a more 1960s cartoon aesthetic, and then finally switching to the same style as the actual episodes. All three aspects can be combined, mixed, and matched in various different ways to create an opening that provides the intended feeling of excitement, sorrow, mystery, and pain just before going into an episode. They go hand in hand with what's occurring in the narrative, and utilize the role as what you see before most, if not all of the episode, to provide different context and story alongside the main runtime. An opening during episode 1 will have a wildly different context to the same opening after a meaningful story event. But what if the opening changed based on the actual events of the story? Killer Queen 第3の爆弾バイツァーダスト This is where special openings come along. Special openings are exactly what they sound like. An opening used when certain important story-related events occur, and the opening is changed to reflect these events. This could be something like the addition or death of a character, important turning points in the plot, or giving a character-specific perspective in the opening during a part of the story centered around them. There are many more types of special openings, ranging from character-centric to arc-specific. These, however, should not be confused with being a new opening altogether. Opening 1, with the differences mentioned, is not the same as a full second opening. One series that is known for having alternate and special openings is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Each JoJo part has their own specific opening and are all guaranteed to have at least one alternative version. The guaranteed version is playing the normal opening with additional sound effects throughout. In the case of Part 3, 4, and 5, there are even additional scenes added that are tied to significant story changes. Before I wrap up the section on openings, there is one last important piece that I chose to leave out of my earlier explanation. As I said in the beginning, the job of the opening is to establish the tone, personality, and overall vibe for a series going forward. But that's assuming it only has to do it once. What happens if it needs to do it all over again? That, my dear viewer, is where we get the second season opening. Second openings are arguably just as, if not more important than first openings. It not only has the responsibility of doing everything the first does, but it also has to do it better or be distinct enough to separate itself from incoming criticism. Listening to opening 1 for the first time is like being introduced to a new person, but opening 2 is like greeting an old friend. Many shows don't often get the chance to have more than one opening, so for some fans, a series getting a second season is often a point of excitement for those that want to see the new opening. My personal anecdote for this feeling is when Kobayashi Dragon Maid got its second season. Kobayashi Season 2 is still largely the same show as Season 1, but the feeling I got from the opening was a lot different. For those that know, Kobayashi is animated by Kyoto Animation, and after the tragedy that happened to the studio a few years back, many of their works were put on hiatus. So while I Know Supreme does a great job at setting up Season 2, it also doubles as a message from the talented people that worked on the series. A message of, we are back, we are okay, and we are glad to have you with us. Openings are an important part to the anime structure, but they aren't the only important piece. In a delicate balance, you have the opening, the episode, and to round it all off, you have the ending. Each coming together to create a work of art combining various techniques in varying quantities. The role that endings play in relation to the openings is similar, but not quite the same, however. Pretty much everything I went over in the opening section is still applicable to endings, with some caveats in certain parts. I won't go over every small detail again for endings, since a large amount of the information I detailed for openings is still true for endings, but I will go over the major differences. The first being, endings are still important for setting the tone, but where it differs is that they set the tone for wanting to watch the next episode, or emphasizing feelings of the current episode as it ends. We've all had to experience the feeling of something super emotional happening in the story, only to see it followed up by an ending that amplifies those feelings. Another notable difference is how they are cut into the actual episode. Most openings are played as soon as the episode starts, or after a small bit of the episode plays. Endings should therefore be played in a similar way, correct? Not all the time, actually. Obviously, endings go at the end, but the problem is, when should the ending play? Many series will have their episodes immediately cut to the ending, especially if there's a cliffhanger, but some choose to have the ending slowly fade in, playing the first couple of seconds of the ending at lower volume while the episode is coming to an end, and then finally cutting to the actual ending sequence. There is also the edge case of, what if the opening is the ending? This is when the actual opening sequence is skipped, and then is turned into the ending song. The episode is also stretched and turned into the ending sequence. This type of ending is often reserved for special instances, such as a season finale where playing the opening would be more impactful. The best example of this trope is playing the opening theme during a final boss fight. This is done in many shonen action shows, but the best case would be Sorairo Days in Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann. The last difference in endings come from the various special endings. Like openings, special endings are usually reserved for significant points in the story, but aren't necessarily required to be. Many special endings range from one-off sequences, special songs used in the episode, and whole new animation changes, using the ending slot as a showcase. Special endings also often get more attention than special openings, usually by way of higher quality animation, full song changes, or other noticeable details. This is largely because the ending time slot can easily be interchangeable depending on the situation it is used in. The opening still needs to be the opening, but the ending can serve double duty. Endings like the Chika dance from episode 3 of Love is War, the Hinokami Kagura from episode 19 of Demon Slayer, and the Oingo Boingo brothers from JoJo Part 3 episode 27 are all special endings to varying degrees. The character Chika Fujiwara gets her own tailor-made ending that makes use of rotoscope animation, along with a song sung by the voice actress for her character, combining alternative animation and music to create a one-time ending for Love is War. The same scenario occurs in Season 3, Episode 5, where a special rap-style ending is made following the events of the episode, all animated by 18-year-old animator Verkreek doing storyboarding, directing, and key animations for that special ending. The Hinokami Kagura ending, on the other hand, forgoes the animation altogether, and instead opts for a slideshow of the Kamado family with the song Tanjiro no Uta playing in the background, having extended from the main episode into the actual ending. This style of ending is more used for its emotional impact, and in the case of Demon Slayer, doing so exceptionally well. Lastly is the Oingo Boingo Brothers ending. Like the Chika ending, this is a replacement of both animation and music, but instead of being a one-off for a character's introduction, this is mostly used as a tribute to the arc as a whole. Although it is short, the Oingo Boingo ending is used multiple times in Part 3, once with the Oingo Boingo Brothers episode, and 2 more times replacing Boingo with Whole Horse. Anime openings and endings are an irreplaceable part of the anime watching experience. Many choose to watch them every time fully, with complete dedication, and others choose to skip straight to the episodes. These choices are what makes everyone's different experiences special. From studios putting hours of hard work into creating them, fans sharing their favorites with the masses, or guys with a microphone and YouTube channel making 20-minute videos on them, engaging with anime openings and endings is engaging with a work of art. The art of anime. Just like every anime, a YouTube video needs an ending, and in this video we will end with a good old-fashioned outro. Kind of like this one. Thank you all for watching and reaching to the end of the video. Researching and writing Art of Anime episodes takes a long time, so I hope you enjoyed my ramblings as much as I did. If you like what you saw, make sure to subscribe to see more, and with that, I've been Keimon, and I will see you all in the next video. Later! いつでも I love you 君に take kiss me 忘れない